And let me tell you something else. This ain't chemistry. Okay, this is art.
Oh. Hello, welcome to ShortCuts. When Breaking Bad went on the air, it became the new standard for quality TV serials. Was it a result of a singular artistic genius?
This is art, Mr. White.
Or was it designed, and therefore repeatable?
Actually, it's just basic chemistry.
It's actually very complicated, but Breaking Bad does have a design, and therefore you can learn from it and apply its lessons. It's all about character design, plot design, and insightful style choices. We'll be breaking down these choices in this series because if you want to make a show as good as Breaking Bad, you have to be a discerning viewer. You can't play a note you can't hear, you can't write what you don't notice. So we're going to take it season by season, analyzing what choices the show creators made. And you could sit there for 100 hours watching and rewatching Breaking Bad, fumbling around, breaking it down yourself incorrectly. But you don't have time. So that's why we're giving you this shortcut.
So you do have a plan. Yeah, Mr. White. Yeah, science.
We'll start, as always, with the pilot. The hectic teaser shows a man in his underwear and a gas mask driving an RV like a getaway vehicle as chemicals and dead bodies slosh around in the back. When the RV wrecks, Walt tapes a message to his family before preparing for a standoff with the authorities. After titles, we back up and show Walt's boring, frustrated life as a chemistry teacher and father. His brother-in-law invites him on a drug bust, but he turns it down, just like Joseph Campbell told you he would. Then the inciting incident.
Lung cancer. Inoperable.
Walt's jolted awake, quits his shittiest job, and is wondering about his life. So at the point of attack, he goes on the ride-along.
Some dude goes by Captain Cook.
Witnesses a drug bust. And runs into Jesse, a former student.
Captain Cook?
Walt uses all this to blackmail Jesse.
You want to cook crystal meth?
Or I turn you in.
Strong move, and a strong midpoint. Walt and Jesse buy an RV to cook in. Walt turns out to be awesome at cooking math.
This is class grade.
It's the first time we see anyone praise Walt
You're the goddamn Iron Chef.
for anything. Jesse tries to sell to a distributor, but because this is the act turn,
Run, Mr. White, run!
it backfires and Walt has to defend himself and Jesse
I'll teach you my recipe.
with science. They live, they make bank, and Walt goes home a new man. It's a solid storytelling structure, but that's not what sets Breaking Bad apart. Most dramatic pilots hit these story beats too. What Breaking Bad did was make me care.
Please, emotionally, intellectually, aesthetically, just make me care.
The number one commandment of storytelling is make me care. That requires character design. The keys to make me care: know what the character wants, want what the character wants, and know what's standing in the way. The essential task of the first 10 minutes of the story is to get us into Walt's head. What does Walt want? On the surface, his life looks pretty good. He's got a wife, he's got friends, he's got a job. He's living the American dream. We see his passion for chemistry in his class.
It is fascinating, really.
Unfortunately, what he doesn't have?
Chad.
Respect. Hell, he's going the extra mile with a second job, but
Hey, Mr. White. Make those tires shine,
no respect there either.
Oh my God.
He's got a house full of friends on his birthday, but they don't take him seriously.
It's like Keith Richards with a glass of warm milk.
At least his wife shows him a little respect.
What is going on down there?
Well,
Is he asleep?
Walt is frustrated and lonely. Never mind what Walt wants. Now what I want as a viewer is to see this man wake up and show some pride.
It's just heavy.
That's why they hire men.
So when Walt sees this,
This was clearly an ongoing operation, one which was well organized.
Hank, how much money is that?
sure, it's money, but it's more. It looks like the solution to everything else. It looks like having control of his life. It looks like self-respect. Walt wants self-respect. Tragically for Walt, the obstacles to his self-respect are his job, his family, and his friends, which for most people are sources of self-respect. This makes him vulnerable to temptation. So now we have a character we care about, but caring is only the first step. You gotta put him through interesting situations, which brings us to plot design. You may think that writing looks like this, typing words into a word processor, but really, it looks like this. A writer's business is relationships, not words. Most of the craft has to do with constructing dilemmas, which means designing lines of causation that put people into conflict. Here's how the meth business serves as an engine of conflict for the characters. For 5 seasons, at least one, sometimes all of these forces are acting on Walt, but what's really at the heart of it is a secret between the world of the meth business and Walt's world at home. Having a secret is key to replicating the structure of Breaking Bad. The reason secrets are important is that they generate suspense. Have you ever noticed that you can rewatch a movie and still feel suspense? That's because suspense works not out of a lack of knowledge about what's going to happen. Suspense works because of social reflexes. Even the most elementary plot needs suspense. Here's suspense at its simplest. Steve is looking for his dog.
He was just right here.
The kids are freaking out because they see the dog, and they're gonna freak out until Steve sees the dog and the attention triangle closes.
Blue's right there, under the hat.
Blue!
Same thing with all the secrets in Breaking Bad.
So, how was your day?
Oh, you know. I don't know.
He just got diagnosed with cancer. And what does he say?
It's fine.
We'll wait several episodes before that attention triangle closes. And we'll wait 2 full seasons before Skyler learns the meth secret. All the while, we're creating tension through the preservation of secrets, thus making me care. In fact, as soon as your last secret is revealed, show's over. The final secret, why Walt did what he did, doesn't pay off until the last episode of the last season. Sony bought the rights to the script based on Vince Gilligan's promise to evolve Walter White from Mr. Chips to Scarface in 5 seasons. Their gamble was the assumption that some audience somewhere wanted to see a man like Walt go from milquetoast to drug dealer. And that gets us into style. Classically speaking, style is what you have when you design information for a particular audience. In the medium of TV, the style choices focus around theme, tone, and genre. Ideally, theme trumps tone and genre because it's the point of your story.
I prefer to see it as the study of change.
What makes your story worth telling?
That's all of life, right?
You can locate the theme by isolating the character who changes the most and then describing that change in one sentence. In our case, Walt became more alive because making meth provided self-respect in a way that the American dream did not. The point of Breaking Bad is the all-importance of self-respect and the ways our current cultural environment can undermine self-respect. And this ties into a big part of our cultural ethos. Oprah's mantra is live your best life. But what if your best life is as a drug dealer? That points to a contradiction in our values. It's why the theme is haunting. It raises the question, is it truly better to be a fully alive monster than a morally good nobody? I think I'd rather be Walt at the end of this story. If the theme resonated, it's because it spoke to common experience, a cultural nerve. There's a lot of dissatisfaction around. Is this all there is? The American dream, for whatever reason, looks paltry to men these days.
What kind of dining set defines me as a person?
A lot of men in America need a soul search and see if they really think that it's better to be a fully alive monster than a morally good nobody. If you're honed into the theme of your story, you can find your way to tone, the attitude of the story. Breaking Bad's creators are showing you how good it can feel to become a monster. They're already mixing the scary and the funny. So the most appropriate tone, black comedy. Take this scene. Keep in mind that he's stealing supplies from a school to make drugs. And how do you feel about it? Pretty good, actually, with that jaunty reggae tune. If you want to zero in on the tone of a show, look at its music. So why make it a black comedy? One possible explanation is that it's just what it feels like to be a contemporary middle-class American male. Like Fight Club. It's funny how much physical comfort we enjoy, and yet we still feel just as much anxiety as our ancestors. It's funny, and it's sad. AMC distributed the show to their target demographic, men aged 25 to 54. Down to the titles of some episodes and the types of dilemmas you see in Breaking Bad, you can categorize this as a contemporary Western with its standoffs and machismo. However, this is misleading because Vince Gilligan did not think of the show as a Western until its final season. That covers the theme, genre, and tone, the abstract style of the show. But now we're going to get into the fun part. The use of film style to achieve everything we've talked about. The adage is that 90% of directing is casting. In film and TV, audiences make snap judgments about a person, and the way to control these snap judgments is through casting. One big reason for the success of Breaking Bad? Bryan Cranston's face, specifically his eyes and his mouth. They convey vulnerability, and that makes it hard to hate him. He probably reminds you of your own dad. Cranston won 4 Emmys for Best Actor in 5 seasons. It's a big reason for why we care. One particular use of color in the pilot is that there's a blue color that follows Walt around, and it's always associated with a sense of lameness. Here's an example. Here's an example. Here's another. It's a very specific kind of blue. Do you recognize it? That's right, handicap blue. Remember, the first 10 minutes of the show are about showing how Walt is trapped. Walt is trapped by this color. Walt himself starts out with a beige color palette. It's on his sheets. It's at his school. See, he's blending in. But he slowly makes the change from beige to yellow to sage to green. And green is the color the production designer decided to associate with Walt becoming more alive. You see it here on a woman at the car wash at the inciting incident. And you see him wearing it on his shirt and on his apron and on the money at the end. I would love to analyze all the motivated camera moves in the pilot, but I'll limit myself to my favorite, the scene where Walt is told he has cancer. The cut is from him upside down in the MRI to his upside down reflection in the table, and you'll notice that instead of a simple tilt up, the camera tilts up as it drops, so that the background shifts. You show a change in the character's mind by the background and how it moves. It's a subtle trick used in many films and television shows. And this moment is strange. It's a unique take on someone hearing bad news, but he reacts by telling the doctor that he has mustard on his lapel.
It's just, you've got mustard on your...
He's oddly tuned in and focused. What's going on in Walt's head? Is he shell-shocked or has something more positive happened? It pays off here when Jesse asks him why he's Breaking Bad at 60 and Walt says, "I'm awake." Notice the background. It's mountains. Just like in the doctor's office. So that little camera move was motivated by Walt waking up for the first time. The success of Breaking Bad was not the result of a singular artistic genius. No offense, Vince. Instead, it's the result of intentional design. And if you can notice the design, you can execute it too. Breaking Bad's pilot is a great model for quality. Now, where would you start if you wanted to write a pilot as good as Breaking Bad? Start where Vince Gilligan started.
Some guy had put a meth lab in the back of an RV and was driving around cooking meth. She said, maybe we should do that. And as soon as he mentioned that, it was the darndest thing. Just this idea for this character who would do such a thing became of great interest to me. And I wanted to pursue that idea.
It's not about hitting your inciting incident on page 12 or making sure you've chosen the right genre.
I don't think it's nice you laughing.
You start with pain, with something that bothers you, or haunts you, or angers you.
With the way it is.
Jesus! Just grow some fucking balls!
Or scares you. Wrestle towards a conclusion that satisfies you, and if you make me care and touch on a common feeling that more people than you experience, you might have a show. Next time, Breaking Bad, Season 1 in its entirety.